Good morning. Welcome back. We haven't seen you since December. I hope and trust that you had a wonderful Christmas and a happy new year. But we are back with the Gal for Kids show. We'd first like to thank our sponsors, Mr. Jim Wofford of the Wofford Theater, which is where we are here today filming, and then Logan Street Signs and Banners, which is just down the sidewalk from the Wofford Theater. My name is Shelley Haymaker. I am the director of your Hamilton County Gal CASA program. And if you've joined us ever before or you're new to our program, what we are trying to do is get out to the community and get information out into the community about what it is that we do, what a guardian ad litem or a court-appointed special advocate even means, and how our community can get involved. And so we'll be speaking today. We have a couple of guests, as you can see beside me. I have Cheryl and Michael Beckage with me today, and they are a couple of volunteers through the program. And we're going to talk to them a little bit about what it is they do and how they got involved and how they do this as a couple. Because if there are couples out there that are interested and wanting something to do together, this is a program that you might be interested in as well to look into, to give and volunteer your time to. But just to remind you, we are a court-ran program here in Hamilton County, which just simply means that we advocate for children in our court system. So if there's not a court case that's ongoing, then we do not get involved. Because I do get a lot of phone calls. I just had one recently where people were wanting to get an advocate for their grandchild, and if there's not a court case that's involved, then this program is not the program for that. So just a little reminder, I have had a lot of people from the community that are interested in our program, and one of the things that I've been telling them to do is go, if you have access to YouTube, then you can go and do a search for my name, Shelley, S-H-E-L-L-E-Y, Haymaker, H-A-Y-M-A-K-E-R, and it should bring up all of our past shows that we have done so that you can watch them and get a better idea of what we do. So, with that being said, let's go see what they do. So, Miss Cheryl, I'll start with you. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
You're good? Now, I called you in December, reached out to you in December, and where were you in December?
We were in Florida, so
Yeah, for like how long?
we were there for 5 weeks. We leave around Thanksgiving, and then we'll come back just around Christmas. So we do take an extended stay out of town during that time.
So that's important information for you to know as well, because I do have a lot of people who want to volunteer for the program, but they get concerned because there are times that they travel, there are times like you guys where you know that you're going to be out of the state for a good month, longer, and they think that they cannot get involved because of that. But we do work around that. We understand that people are going to travel. We understand that we have people that are retired and travel even more frequently than you get to, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we try to work around that. All we ask from you is, if you're one of our volunteers and you're going to travel, is that you give us the heads up and give us notice so that if your case is coming up for court or anything like that, then we're prepared for that. And you have to kind of be prepared for that too, because if you know your case is scheduled, you have to get your job done and your reports out before you even leave, right?
What we really like is that we have a sponsor that is that works with us, one of the legal team, and they have been wonderful, they and their staff both. And so they've always given us plenty of notice. We've had plenty of time, and even though we've traveled some, it's never been an issue. We've always had plenty of warning ahead of time, and so we have not had any issues getting our reports done. So
Okay, and
really
so
good.
your attorney on your case, is that Dana?
It is Dana.
All right,
Yes.
so what is unique about our program, and what I believe that our volunteers appreciate a lot, is that you're not on your own. So you don't come into this program and go through training and then we throw you into court all by yourself. Everybody who comes through this program, volunteers, they are appointed an attorney that represents them. So when you say we have a sponsor, and she's talking about they have an attorney that represents them. So she or her staff are able to let you know when court dates are and what you need to do before you were to leave town.
The other thing that Mike can speak to this as well, that we both enjoyed, was the fact that we are not part of the legal profession. We don't understand the legal community, and yet every time we had questions, somebody answered our questions within hours. So we've always felt fully supported. We didn't feel like there was nothing we couldn't do, because we always had a lot of good support from your team to help us through.
Well, good. Sometimes we don't always answer within hours, so sometimes you have to give us a little bit of a break. So you're lucky.
Or
you got an answer. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit more persistent, because we're busy. I mean, I came from court this morning to run here to do this, and then I have court this afternoon, and so a lot of us in the program are running around chasing our tails half the time, to be quite honest. But so that's good. So because you said you didn't have any legal experience, and let's cover what it is you do. What do you do, Cheryl?
So what I do is I am a business consultant. I've had my own business for 20 years, and I work mostly, sometimes locally, but I also travel quite a bit. So balancing this with the travel schedule has always been part of the reason we did it together. So, and I work mostly with your larger companies, and so this is very different. I don't get to work with children at all in my day-to-day living. So.
Yes, you have adults all day, so it's kind of nice to see some kids for a change. Those of you that are with kids all day, it's kind of nice to talk to your attorney and have some adult interaction. So we can offer both. So, all right, Michael, tell us what you do.
I'm a retired pharmaceutical chemist.
Okay. And so you then don't have anywhere that you have to be every day at a certain time anymore.
No.
Right?
No.
Except for wherever Cheryl says that you have to be at a certain time
Yes.
during any given day, right? Okay. All right. So now, how did the two of you hear about our program? Because we didn't have this wonderful community outreach at that time. So how did you hear about us?
I think it was about 5 years ago, a radio commercial in Indianapolis, which I responded to, and then it took a while before I got contact with you regarding training, etc.
Okay, so he heard it from a radio program in Indianapolis, and that is because throughout the state of Indiana, throughout our 90-some counties that we have, these types of programs are in 70, I can't remember the exact number, but it's 70-some counties that have a program like this that advocate for kids in court. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. We are going to go to break, but I do want to give you a few reminders that if you are interested in finding out more about our program, besides watching the past YouTube videos for our show, you can always give me a call at my office at 317-776-0480. My assistant is Robin. She can also answer several questions. You can always send me an email at attysshell@att.net. And we'll be back.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid-back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to our show. We just finished our first segment with Cheryl and Michael Beckage as my guests today, and I'm Shelley Haymaker. I'm the director of our Hamilton County Guardian Ad Litem Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program here in Hamilton County. And right before break, we were just kind of talking about these types of programs that are in several of our counties throughout the state of Indiana. So I get phone calls from people who have either seen billboards out as they're driving, or they've heard it on the radio, or they've seen something about the program on the Dr. Phil show. We get a lot of those people. So you can hear about this program in even other states, because all of the states have these types of programs. But for the majority of the people that live and or work here in Hamilton County, then they like to come through the Hamilton County program as opposed to the one that might be in Marion County or Madison County. And then I've had people that call me up, and if they live in another county, then I refer them to the program that might be in their county. What I like about our county, at least, a little plug for the Hamilton County program, is that, like we said before, we provide an attorney, so you're represented. You're never walking in a court by yourself, wondering where do you sit and when do you speak and did your report get filed and who was it given to. You never have any of that part to worry about, because that's what the attorneys take care of for you. So your job is really focusing on the child and the family and looking into what kinds of things that we can advocate for in court and what are important things for the judge to know about this family or about this particular child. So you can focus on that, and then the legal staff can focus on all the legalities and how things are done. So back to you guys. So before break, you were talking about you're full-time employed, correct?
Yes,
I mean,
I
your
am.
business, even though
Yes.
it's your own business, it's pretty
Yeah.
much full-time.
And then some,
And
yes.
then I can relate,
Yes,
because I get
I'm
up
sure.
every morning reading reports or going to bed. And then you are retired, but still keep pretty busy?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have any other interests outside of volunteering for our program?
I'm a Hamilton County Master Gardener, and also essentially remodeled the house in the time I've been retired.
Okay. How many years have you been retired?
4.5 years.
4.5. Okay. So you heard about the concept of this type of program on a radio commercial, and then
Yes.
you guys live here in Hamilton County.
Correct, yes.
So you were wanting to get involved and try to figure out something here in our county, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, do you guys remember when you went through training?
It was last October, I believe.
Or 2014. Yeah, because
2014,
now we have the new year upon us. So everything that was last, you really think?
Yes.
Okay. So October of 2014, you went through the training, and that consisted of several nights of grueling information.
Drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, drinking from a fire hose.
Drinking from a fire. Okay, now see, why do you explain it like that? Why do you describe it like that?
It was a lot of information in a very short period of time.
Yes, yes. Well, we would like to keep you longer, but, we can only spend so much time with you, and then we just kick you out and say, go forth, figure this out, right? So when we did that to you, you went through the training. When you left training, were you pretty nervous about getting your first case?
Absolutely.
Really?
It was, yes, absolutely. And so-
Were you nervous?
Yes.
All right, so you probably got an envelope or something in the mail which gave you the information, or an email which had the information attached to it, right, about your first case?
I think I'm a little bit more of a control freak, so I had to come up and get it from you directly.
She thinks
So-
she is. There's no thinking here,
Yeah.
okay? She is a little bit more. See, we put him in the middle because we had the two redheads, so we
Yeah,
needed offset,
exactly.
because we're probably both would be described as somewhat of a control freak. So,
Yeah.
so you came and
So
picked it up.
We
from
came
us.
and picked it up
All right.
because that way we had a captive audience with you. We could ask any question we wanted. And so from there we were able to dig. And then I believe Dana followed up. Dana's our lawyer that supports us as part of the case. She then sent us the rest of the information.
Yes, because I don't get a lot of information at first. Did you figure that out?
Yes.
Yes,
we did,
I get a
but it
little bit
works
of
just
information
fine.
at first, but I don't always know a whole
Yeah.
lot about the case. So, now you guys have worked one case, more than one case?
Right now, we've just done one case. The case started in February of 2015, and then it just recently closed.
Oh.
So,
Well, our involvement started in February, but the
Yeah.
case started in November of that year.
But we couldn't get you involved at that
Because
point
we
because
were
you were
traveling.
traveling. So when they came back, then we were able to get a case to you.
yes.
All right. So now, obviously, without going into specific details, but what type of case was it? Was this a maybe a substance abuse related case, a domestic violence related? Like, what were the underlying issues that you were aware of?
In this particular case, what we were dealing with were unfit living conditions. And so the children had been removed because of the living conditions that were found in the home. And both parents were involved in the family. They were together. They were very, loved their children a lot. They just had some stress points in their life at this point in time that made it more challenging for them to maintain a good house, keep a job, and take care of the children.
Okay. So, by the time you got involved in February, because you said the case had started in November, so by the time you got involved in February, were the kids still out of the home, or had they been placed back in the home yet? Do you remember?
Well, what had happened were the children were removed from the home. They were reunited with their parents shortly after we were involved in the case, and then there was kind of a in-home monitoring situation, or in-home chins case, I guess.
Okay.
But what I really liked about what Michael said is he's downplaying the role that he had. As at the time that we got into the case, the children were still not within the home. But as Michael did an assessment based on our training, and as we learned what was, what the reasons the children had been removed versus how much the family had improved, it was really Michael's questions that brought up, could the children come home? And it was because of his work with both the lawyers and the Department of Children's Services, or DCS, that helped bring those kids back home.
Well, that's
So.
good. So you're downplaying. So it's not our decision ever. It's never our decision whether kids are removed or whether kids are returned. That decision is always up to the judge, ultimately. For kids' removal, if there's an emergency situation or something happening, then our Department of Child Services has the right to remove children, and then they have to bring that in front of the judge within 48 hours, and then the judge ultimately makes the decision of whether the children should remain removed from the home or not. And then when it's time for kids to go back into the home, if that's how the case works out, then it's ultimately up to the judge. So you guys can make recommendations, and you can look into things, and you can explore, but obviously you didn't have any say-so as far as kids going back home, but that was your recommendation when you got involved.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we're going to talk more, and we will be back after this break, and my information is at the bottom of your screen.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back. This is our last segment, and as I told the Beckages, these time periods fly by, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So before we go, before I forget at the end of this segment, I once again just want to thank our sponsors, Mr. Jim Wofford of the Wofford Theater and Logan Street Signs and Banners, because they have been kind enough to make sure that we are able to do this show once a month at this point. So we just want to make sure that we thank them. And I want to thank our guests, Cheryl and Michael Beckage, for being with us today. And before we went to break, we were just kind of talking about the specific case that you had worked. Now, what I do want to point out is I didn't overburden them. You heard they've had one case. So when you come into the program, don't come into the program with this fear that we are just going to throw case after case at you. Actually, the rule is that I try to live by is once you've gone through training, we start out with one case. It's important that you spend all of your time just figuring out the system and figuring out how everything we trained you kind of works and how it all plays out and how the court works and how the Department of Child Services work. And so we don't want to overburden you with giving you too much to get go. Now, once you've been in the program for a while and you're more comfortable and you have a case or two under your belt, then I'm very open to the concept that if you want to take on more than one case at that time, then we can talk about that. You can tell me your interest in that. But don't ever fear that we start out that way. We start out with the one case. All right, so talking about the one case that you guys did, and I do want to touch on when you talk about the living conditions, they have to be pretty extreme.
Yes, this is not your normal, I didn't get the house straightened or clean my toilet this week. This is literally the children, for various reasons, either there are many, many animals in the house, or there's a hoarding situation, or there's serious bug infestation. This is not your normal. When I say the children were removed due to dangerous conditions, they really were dangerous conditions.
Yes, because we don't want you to think that, yes, for their health and for their safety. So we talk a lot about in training about minimum sufficient level of care, and that's something that we look at. That when we go into people's homes, we're not looking for the maximum level of care. You may keep your house very, very excellent, and others of us may not keep our houses as excellent. But so long as that there's minimum sufficient level of care in that home, there's running water and there's heat in the winter, the home is safe. Like you talked about, if you have a hoarding situation, sometimes there's so many things stacked around the home that exits are you can't get out if there were to be a fire or something like that. So the home is not safe, and so it has to be a pretty extreme situation for kids to be removed, especially as long as these kids were. It sounds like in your case. So we just want to make sure that you understand that. And then as you got into the case, we talked a little bit about continuity, and when I talk to the community or I train in our training, one of the things we emphasize is if you take a case, we want you to keep that case and see it all the way to the end. We understand that emergencies come up and that all of a sudden somebody in your family might have gotten sick and you were not expecting that. your job gets moved and all of a sudden you have to move. We understand that. But so long as there's nothing drastic like that happening in your life, we ask that once you take a case, that you stay on the case until the case is finished, so that you are the only advocate that was involved in that case. So talk to me a little bit about that on your case.
Yeah, so we joined the case in February, as we mentioned earlier, and the case just ended in December of this year. What we found during that time, and Mike will talk a little bit about this as well, is we were actually the only people that stayed with this particular family all the way through. So Department of Child Services stayed involved, but they had at least 2 different caseworkers. There was a family therapist involved. They had at least 2 different family therapists. And so it got to the point where, from a continuity and understanding of everything the family had been through versus where they were today and how the children were progressing, Mike and I were the ones that had the best visibility to that. Did you want to add anything, Mike?
Well, also working as a team came to the advantage where some children are related better to a male because
Yes.
they may have been starved for male attention, and other of the children opened up more to the female. So that's where working as a team was very useful. And also, in terms of meeting with the family, sometimes we went alone as individuals, and sometimes we both went at the same time. And that way, one of us would be talking to the parent while the other was talking to the children.
Oh, that's a great. That's what's really helpful about having a team and having a couple that come together and want to do this together. It's very, very nice, like you said, that you guys can sort of divide the duties. So what I want to know is who got stuck with writing the report.
That would be me because I'm better at it. Sorry.
I'm not surprised that you said that.
So part of my role in my regular job is I do a lot of report writing. I do a lot of presentations. And so it was very easy for me to take on that responsibility, and it wasn't as difficult. But what I liked the most about working together was we had gone through the training together. We had learned everything about the program together. We were working our first case together, and it was almost like having a second source of information to talk with. And so we made it every time we had a visit with either the family or the school or the DCS or whomever we needed to talk with, we would always sit down and write up our notes right away, and we could talk them through. And we could make sure that we were focusing on the facts of the children and what the children's needs were. And it helped keep us both aligned and make sure that our focus was always the children.
That's good. And it helps to have a sounding board and have things to kind of go back and forth with. And part of what we do is, because we are doing all of this investigating, we have to put this into a written report, because then that report gets filed with the judge, and so that the DCS attorneys and caseworkers understand everything that we've done, everybody that we've spoken with, what our recommendations are. And so putting that all down into a report can be kind of burdensome.
Yeah. Especially if you wait till the last minute. Don't do that.
Don't wait till the last minute. No, we all learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
But that's how you get your information to the judge, so that they have it.
What surprised me is as the case, again, we were in the case for almost 11 months. And so during that time, you can imagine, we tried to visit either at least once a week. We tried to make sure that we did something for that case every week. So the report became fairly large, several, probably 6 or 7 pages maybe. And the judge actually read every single page and was very prepared. I was never able to go to court because of my work schedule, so Mike always went.
Another advantage of
another
working as a
advantage.
couple.
That's an important one.
That's
and
right.
So he was able to cover on those, but we were always amazed that the judge had taken the time and had gone through and really read and considered what we talked about.
That's right. And considered your recommendations when he had to make the decision. Well, I hate to tell you, but our time here has long ended. We went past today for the first time, I think, since we started. But I want to thank you very much for coming in, tuning in, learning more about the program. As we highlight various volunteers as we keep doing this show, I hope that you understand the importance of what we do, and that yes, you too can get involved. It doesn't take anybody with any kind of a special degree to do it. You don't have to be a chemist. You don't have to be, trust me. So until next month, I hope you have a great month. And then if you need to reach us, then we've given you that information at the bottom of the screen. Take care.
Mm-hmm.